Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural edition of the All Things Talent webinar series by Naukri Hiring Suite. Naukri Hiring Suite offers a bouquet of new age solutions for brands like Naukri, iimjobs Hirist, First Naukri, eHire, and RMS to meet all your recruitment needs. My name is Prashant Sharma. I'm a member of the Naukri Hiring Suite team now, and we're all super happy to have all of you join us on a Tuesday evening, right on time. And I can't stress enough, right on time is extremely key to us. Right. We sincerely hope that you're staying safe, taking all precautions in these pandemic times, and obviously we're all recovering now, we're all healing. And the aim of this series, the All Things Talent webinar series, is to bring you and all the HR fraternity together to promote an environment of mutual growth and inspire HR professionals to develop as leaders while learning from from the experiences of industry stalwarts. It's a pleasure to have two wonderful panelists here today, but because it is the launch of the initiative, and I think we've got a wonderfully dynamic and diverse panel. But before I get to them, there are just a few things to keep in mind, with respect to the webinar, that the flow and everything, that we're doing today. We're starting sharp at 5 p.m. and we will be ending by 6 p.m. We were very lucky to receive so many questions through, the hundreds of registrations that we had for the event. And we already have a flow and structure in place. And when I say flow and structure, it's based on questions that have come into us, and people who've taken the time to write to us in advance. So we'll give them that privilege first. That being said, we'll be doing a few live polls. We will also try our best to take live questions based on the availability of time. So, for example, if we feel that the live questions coming in, aren't being answered through our already existing flow, we'll ensure that we take more live questions towards the end. And I think I can safely say the last 15-20 minutes will all be about the questions and the flow. The topic for today is one which is of great relevance. It's something that it's become a very important part of our lives, and we want to understand the HR take on it now. Right? It's on employee flexibility, and is it the new norm? It's a very simple question with a very complex answer, and I'm sure there's plenty of point of views out there. The two senior leaders who've graciously accepted the offer today to sort of join us, for this discussion, are Ms. Smriti Handa. She's the Global Talent Acquisition Director at Reckitt. She's someone with more than 15 years of experience, 17 years in fact, in HR. Worked with great brands like Philips and Bharti Airtel. And overall, because I've known her for a while, I know that she brings great value to any discussion that she's a part of. And thank you so much, Smriti, for being here. The second panelist here today is Mr. Yuvraj Srivastav. He's someone with more than 2 decades in the game. He's someone who also has a 5 to 6 year experience of the Indian Armed Forces. Currently, he's the Group CHRO for Make My Trip Group, which is sort of the group brand for the 3 brands like Make My Trip, GoIbibo, and Redbus. He's got a wonderful level of diversified experience as well, through organizations like Asian Paints, PepsiCo, and the Oberoi Hotels as well. We're very happy to have both of you here, and my overall objective of sort of keeping the introduction short and crisp is that I don't want to butcher all the highlights of all your careers. I don't want to do a disservice to you, but I think I can safely say that most audience members, and the number is already past to 25. All the audience members are extremely excited to have you. Otherwise, they wouldn't have registered. And thank you so much for being here and being here for the launch initiative. Now, how do we proceed? Right. Before we sort of proceed and move on to the topic, I'm going to go to you one by one, and I'm going to start with Smriti. We've just been through a pandemic, and this is a very simple question and a quick share that we want from you. What is one personal positive and one professional positive that has come your way because of the pandemic? And I know it's been a tough time for everyone, but let's try to see if there's some positive that you believe has come your way from that.
Prashant, I would say a lot of positives have come during this period. You've only allowing me 2. I will share those, but of course, all my love and care to everybody on the call and their extended families, because I'm sure we are talking about positives, but I'm sure as a, as a country, as a set of people, we've gone through really tough times. But just to spread positivity, I would say, talking about my personal positive first, I come from a dual working couple family, and I have an 11-year-old daughter. To have the luxury of seeing her through the day, or seeing my husband through the day, through the sunrise, sunset, and to have lunch. My calendar has blocked 1 hour in the afternoon where we ensure we have lunch as a family together. If I think of pre-COVID times, I would leave at say 9:30 in the morning and come back around say 8:30 in the evening, and therefore would never get this luxury. To be able to spend such quality time with family, I think that's what pandemic has given me. I would love for this bit of flexibility to continue forever. I really think I'm invested. I'm a lot more invested mother and a partner as of today. On professional front, what you called out as my title, Prashant, which is Global Talent Acquisition Director, I don't think something like that would have been possible in pre-COVID times. Working for the globe out of India for a global organization, where a lot of my largest talent base sits out of the US and out of Europe, right? So of course I'm working a little bit on odd hours as well. So I've planned my day in a very different way now than I used to. But I think this role is also an outcome of organization and people's minds opening up to say that you can work from anywhere. That's another form of flexibility, right? So I think that's my professional positive out of this pandemic.
Fantastic. I think the professional positive perfectly pieces into our topic for today as well. So thank you for doing that. Yuvraj, I'm going to come to you next. One professional and one personal positive. If you could move yourself off mute. Yes.
Yeah. So Prashant, thank you so much for inviting, and it's great to see you after a long, long time. You absolutely are still the same, the way we had met a few years back, full of energy, full of passion for what you do. So compliments to you. Great to meet Smriti. We have known each other not in terms of meeting, but perhaps we have been knowing each other's name, and it's great to really put name behind the face behind the name sort of a thing. So that's great to connect, Smriti. And great to see so many people, 261 already in the session. And that puts an immense amount of pressure on me, at least, that that how these sessions are going to go. Okay, Farida, I'll be a bit louder. So so having said that, coming to professional positives, I think when you buy a car, you feel that what is the safety measures of this car, right? What are the safety features of the car? When will it get really tested? But you won't ever like to get into a situation wherein you need to test a safety feature of the car by crashing it, right? And you don't do it. It only happens in the test times. And organizations also don't go through such processes in a normal day-to-day time, right? Organizations work on values, organizations work on culture, organizations work on many, many things which are never tested, and they are only hypothesized and spoken about. And now here comes 1.5 years, it pressure tests everything what you have been talking about, right? Whether it is relationship, whether it is care for people, whether it is your values of the organization, all this comes into picture and starts playing absolutely right up front in the face of everyone. So I think positives have been, as an organization, whatever we had been professing as our culture, values of the culture, I think they stood strong for all of us. And I personally realized there's a power of honest and transparent communication with people, which we undermine many a times. And I think I tried this many a times during last 15 months, right? Being very transparent, being very honest, feeling vulnerable as an organization, as an individual. And I think it all works well, and it all worked well. So the understanding of this nuanced organizational values, behaviors is one of the positives. So the organization has got pressure tested, and it has done quite well from that point of view, right? That is one. On a personal front, I think, I've been working for the last, 27, 28 years, include my armed forces tenure. I used to really feel that, will I ever get time to have a Saturday off in my earlier career, right? I started getting, alternate days, Saturday off when I was working with the Oberoi. Then I started thinking, my God, what a luxury to work 5 days a week. Will I ever get that to happen or not? So that happened when I came to PepsiCo, and now I continue to have that. So I think that life progresses and keeps giving you, makes you wait for certain things, but it gives you in abundance when you really need it and when you really deserve it. So at the personal front, few things happened which I definitely should bring out. What Smriti said definitely goes without saying. More time with family, more time with a son. I have a 20 years old. He just joined college. Wife who's an entrepreneur, ex HR professional, spending more time with them. Now it's debatable that spending more time with the family is good or bad, but that's for some other time. So, but I think that's how it really works. What it what I took out as a personal learning out of the process is that uh, I got a lot of time to reflect. I got a lot of time to realize that what am I doing in life. I got a lot of time to really connect and network with people perhaps whom I had lost touch, and all that has brought back the energy and brought back the overall spirit of living, doing well, and perhaps enjoying life. So I think these are a couple of things which are important for me, and they have somewhere triangulated and came together during last 15 months, and that those are the positives, Prashant, if I need to really bring it up. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think the availability of time is something that has sort of worked out for everyone, having that time to, with the family. And of course, I think these times have also explained the importance of family a lot more, because they've been such, excessively stressful times. So, wonderful to share, wonderful shares. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think now the audience will also sort of be able to relate to you guys immediately, because they've been in similar situations, right? We
Prashant,
almost
am I audible? Because I'm seeing some chats.
yeah.
saying that
Yes,
that
so I think you'll have to you can either sort of try to move a little closer to the screen, then it can be a little louder. I think that might work, because so also to the attendees, maybe the audio issue can also be from the side of the system that you're on, because I can actually hear it fine, but I understand, and Yuvraj will also try to sort of boost the baritone a little bit, and we'll do it right. Now quickly moving on to, and I can see yes, so you are audible, Yuvraj, all good, right? Thanks. So
thank you.
Yes, perfect. All right, thank you so much. Looks like we've got a wonderfully engaged and interactive audience, almost 300 of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Now we'll quickly deep dive into the topic, and before we do that, I'd like to hear from all the audience, right? So a poll is about to sort of come up on the screen very, very shortly, and the panelists are welcome to sort of respond to the poll question as well. Is your organization currently offering the work from home option to all employees? Yes, no. Hybrid model as per requirement is an option that a lot of organizations may be calling once a week, twice a week, or there's no defined policy as of now, since they're still reeling. So it's a pretty simple question. Is your organization currently offering the work from home option to employees? Please quickly choose your option.
Can I guess what will be the response?
Yes, sure, guess.
90% would say that work from home. Let's see.
Yeah. All right. So let's see the results then. I think it's a simple question. Okay. All right. 68%. So 68% of you are working from home. 10% are not working from home, and 23% are as per a fluid hybrid model. So again, I think that's a pretty revealing stat that in terms of audience, we've got all aspects sort of covered a little bit. Obviously, I mean, the largest is about is working from home. And since we've also crossed 300, I think it's the right time to ask my first question. And I'm going to put that question to Smriti first. Smriti, is offering a flexi working schedule, and the reason I asked you this first is because in your current role, you're leading talent acquisition, globally. Is offering a flexi working schedule a bare minimum necessity now? From an employer branding point of view, from attracting talent out there. Is it something that is now a given? And like we said, is it the new norm? And also, in addition to that, also something that we saw in the poll. How do you see the future of the hybrid model sort of turning out? I mean, just your opinion.
So, Prashant, I think calling it a bare minimum may be too much of a stretch of an imagination, because I think organizations are going through their own evolution cycle, right? So like we saw the comment around, we saw 68%, right, as a response rate. Of course, certain organizations in commercial space will still need sales folks, like especially B2C organizations will still need sales team to be in the field, or if not on an everyday basis, deep rooted places, etc. But you will need people there, right? So I think organizations are evolving. Organizations are putting their tools and processes, etc., in place to say, how can you make a success out of it? But if I were to answer your question in terms of being more futuristic than where are we today, for this conversation, I was doing some research, and Mercer Research says that 90% of employers say that the productivity has either stayed the same or improved with employees working from home. Now, as an employer, if this is my answer to a survey, there's no reason for me to be concerned or doubtful about employees working from home, right? At the same time, organizations are also evolving with respect to their definition of flexi working. Like, just in the beginning, we spoke about place flexibility, working from India for a global role for an organization which is headquartered in UK, right? Or it could be time flexibility. If as an employee, given my role, I'm happy to work, let's say second half, technically at this point in time, I start my work at 12 in the afternoon. Prior to that, I'm doing gymming, I'm spending time with my family, everything, that I used to maybe do towards the evening, I've started doing it in the mornings now, because that's what my work schedule demands. So to a large extent, I would say it is the maturity of the organization and the individual that should define win-win, which means if at my space, I'm okay to relook at my timings and bring in flexibility, when an individual needs it, organizations should also put their hand forward and say, we understand your need and we are open with this flexibility. However, this will, as I see it, will be more so in terms of ensuring that you provide freedom, while assuming that your employees are mature adults and they can take the right decisions within a framework. And when I say framework, there has to be performance and accountability parameters that have to be clearly laid out, which means that more than being input driven, what time did you come to office? What time are you leaving? 15 years back when I started my career, those were also huge topics of discussion: absenteeism, presenteeism, how many hours you're spending at work, etc. Now that was an input parameter. We are more so moving towards an output parameter to say, what is my productivity like? Whatever I'm committing, am I able to deliver to that? So when I go, let's say, because you said, when I go to hire external talent, instead of just calling out some broad guidelines on what will flexibility look like, etc., I would rather gauge the output parameters of individuals to say maturity in terms of what organization needs and what an employee needs. Can we draw a balance, right? But employee value proposition plays such a huge role out there, the employer branding that you spoke about, that of course organizations have to go all out, talk about tools, technology, mindset shift that they are bringing internally to ensure these things are well accepted in the organization. So I think it's more like a win-win for the employee and win-win for the organization. It's not just in terms of what a new employee wants to hear. Of course, there's paucity of talent and things need to work out well on both ends.
I think the fair point that comes out of that is all about the fact that you can't do it as a formality, as something who it has to be a mutual win-win thing, and I think that's where it will work the best. So thank you so much for that. And in fact, I'm actually getting a question from Manjul, which is FlexiHours hampers team collaboration, and due to non-overlapping timing and stuff like that. I understand that question, but my next question to Yuvraj actually sort of buys into a little bit of this, because I think timings, conversations, meetings, things like that are sort of these days, the responsibility of the one person leading the team, right? And my next question, which is to Yuvraj, is about the role of the manager. With employee flexibility being adopted by most organizations around the world, has the responsibility of the manager increased in terms of ensuring that the new way of working is productive? I mean, what we usually do in terms of our old processes and and you yourself, you both are leading teams, you both have massive teams, and they're more often than not, they're located across geographies. So according to you, Yuvraj, I mean, what about the new role of the manager? And is there an additional responsibility now?
Okay, so it's a great question, Prashant. I think that, but before I answer it, we all should question that, was there a time wherein manager's role was not important? I think it had always been there, right? Has it changed in the current context? Yes, it might have changed. But let's look at, and I think that I'll request everybody to really maybe put it in the chat, that what percentage of people in the organization are individual contributors and what percentage of people are managers? Do we have an understanding? If you have to just say that people managers are this percentage of people in the organization, you will be surprised to know, and most of us will agree, that there'll be around 20 to 25% people in the organizations who manage teams, right? And if you look at this number of 15%, somebody says, depending on the organization, you will realize that this number will continue to go from 15 to 25% in every organization. And now, if that is one data point, then we all know Pareto principle, right? 80-20 principle, everybody understands that 20% people or 20% of the reasons are the 20% of the causes are the reasons for 80% of the cause results, right? So 25% people impacting 75% rest of the people in the organization. Can they really be ignored in terms of their impact? They cannot really be ignored. If that is one point, other element to understand is that, if you make a triangle and put an employee in the center of the triangle. So the three corners of the triangle will have on one side manager, second side it will be organization, and third side it will be ecosystem or the environment in which a person operates. If you look at all these 3 points, Prashant, who's the loneliest in this? Manager is the loneliest. Organization consists of so many people, so many processes, so many things coming together to deliver. Ecosystem is again consisting of so many things around. The only person who's individual loneliest in this whole triangle who impacts the employee is a manager. And if manager is lonely, and if manager also is 25% in the organization, are they important or they are not? They are very, very important in the organization. And will they really be in position to steer the organization? Will they be creating a fulcrum to have the right culture in the organization when we are talking about flexibility and rest of things? They would always be there. Now the question would be that, how do you really ensure that these managers can deliver on those deliverables? Will the deliverables change from people? I'm sure there are many things which have been spoken. Many people will have different amount of thoughts. Finally, the relationship of a manager and the team member will boil down to how much of a trust a manager can have on the team member and how much of an accountability and responsibility a team member can take about the delivery. Both these elements of this whole equation, as much as will go on a higher levels in these 2 factors, the relationship will work and the organizations will deliver. Otherwise, there'll be a problem. So managers and understand, in our culture, both these things are deficient in the managers and the employees to a great extent. I'll not say it as a broad brush, but I'll say most of the time we keep checking the trust factor, right? Are managers trusting their team members? Can they really give some job and forget about it has been delivered? Can team members trust their managers in terms of whatever guidance and they are looking at? I think it's an equation of trust and accountability that needs to really, really work very, very strongly. And it's not only manager, Prashant, it's managers as well as team members who will have to be trained, who will have to be guided, who will have to be really, really brought to a very different level of understanding to ensure that organizations are delivering. So clearly, managers are important because the equations what I told you. And will they be only independently responsible? I would say no, they will have to enable. So organization will have to enable managers to ensure that they develop trust in the people. They develop that ability to, empower people, and team members will have to develop capability of being far more accountable, rather being proactive instead of being reactive in terms of the situation, because now you're operating in a scenario wherein you may not be meeting people on a daily basis. So you can't leave people to guess around that, what are you doing, how are you being occupied and all that stuff. So clearly managers would be responsible, and they have been responsible earlier, they'll be responsible today, and they'll be even important tomorrow.
Great. I think what I gauged from that is it's very simply put, they've always been important, but now it's over to the organization to enable them more, and it's also important for the team members to have that more accountability, more trust within the manager. So I think wonderful answer. Thank you so much for that, Yuvraj. My next question is actually something that you both have briefly spoken about in your introductions. The rapid fire rounds, and this question goes out to you both. I'll start with Smriti first. Is workplace flexibility a positive or a negative, when it comes to work-life balance? The reason why I ask this question is because, flexibility, a lot of times, the employees of an organization may not necessarily know that, this step that has been added, it's great for us. They may think in the short run that, okay, great. Like, for example, when the lockdown began, first few months, I was quite happy being home, not really traveling, not being in the car for 2 hours, 1.5 hours at all. I'm at home and I'm working from home. I felt I was more productive. But as the lockdown went on, I think deep down, a lot of people said, I want to go back to work. I want to, see that vibe at the office. I want to be a part of that again. So my question to you is with this newfound focus and a necessary focus, on mental health and burnout, do you think the flexibility can actually turn out to be a negative and a positive, both terms? What do you think about it? I'll go to Smriti first.
So Prashant, what we've experienced so far is not flexibility, right? It's not that I'm sitting at home by choice. It is because COVID is so widespread that I don't have a choice but to work out of home. I think flexibility will show its true meaning when COVID is gone and people are given a choice. That is when whether you work from home or you work from office actually takes shape. Right now, it's not by choice. So to your question, it is good or bad. Of course, we spoke about the goods at the beginning. You and I think all of us are experiencing the negative side to a certain extent as well. But I would say, isn't it true for everything? I remember, if I go back when we used to talk about newer models coming into play, for example, think of it, HR evolution. We started with factory HR, and then we said HR needs to become business partners and become more strategic. Think of newer models like diversity and inclusion, newer concepts like diversity and inclusion, right? The first time you announce it, there's good, bad, ugly, all kinds of emotions that everybody goes through. In my mind, flexibility is going to have the same curve. It's not going to be all positive, all negative. It's going to be a mixed bit till organization, people, all 300 of us on the call actually understand where to draw the balance. And I think organizations and leaders will have a huge role to play in terms of understanding what does personalization of that experience mean. Maybe, like I said in the beginning, what works for you, Viraj, doesn't work for me as an individual. Is organization open to personalizing to ensure Yuvraj gives his best to the organization and Smriti gives her best to the organization, right? To your point on mental or well-being, etc. Of course, I think all of us on the call, I'll be really curious to know if there are certain organizations who've not started partnering, because none of us had the expertise the first day it hit us to say mental well-being, how do we invest out there, etc. We've started partnering with external expertise to understand what is the meaning of mental well-being, what is the meaning of spiritual well-being. I think organizations are now just going beyond physical well-being to talk about all types of well-being that's out there. Of course, it'll, again, like I said, all of us will need to show some patience to understand how all this will evolve. I think as a employee, not as a leader or whatever, as an employee in the organization, it's expected of me to not start assuming everything will fall in place from day zero. And I think that's where you and Yuvraj were discussing about has it become tough for managers? I think the moment we start showing that patience and start understanding what does it take for an organization to still keep getting profitability, because we are all there for a commercial purpose, at the same time ensure that there is empathy towards employees, and you help them manage their work life balance. It will take some time. I don't think any of us will be ready as of tomorrow. So I think across employee genres, there has to be that understanding and acceptability. But yes, are organizations working towards it? Is it a must do at the point at which we are? Of course, the most obvious answer to that is that yes, it is the most wanted thing at this point in time. And this is another positive, Prashant, that COVID has brought in. Because without this, we were all running, right? We were just running, not thinking about work-life balance. Think of it, both Yuvraj and I, when we spoke about our positives stemming out of COVID, we spoke about being able to spend time with family. And I know that that also is within given constraints. It's not that at our luxuries, right? So given all this, I think COVID has come as a positive in terms of ensuring that there's realization across organizations that mental, spiritual well-being is equally important. But it's going to take, like any new concept, it's going to take some time for it to settle in, for organizations to spend on it. People like Yuvraj and I will build business cases to ensure they are established and accepted, and organizations are ready to spend that kind of money on it. But I don't see that the future is bleak. I think we have a colorful future ahead of us, which should take care of flexibility, whether of time or place or any other, and it'll be more output driven as we head forward.
Fair enough. Yuvraj, the same question to you, and like a slightly more, an additional point that stems from what she shared. The importance of patience. The patience that will also have to be shown by the employees towards the organization. What are your thoughts on these aspects?
Sure. So let me just take a stab on what the first part was, right? And Smriti brought out some very, very nuanced points. Let's first look at what is flexibility. Can we really interpret flexibility as per our convenience? I don't think there is a standard way of looking at flexibility when it comes to organizational context. And imagine there is a foundation or there is a horizontal deployment which says that organizational interest is horizontal and cuts across everything. And on top of it, put 3 boxes in the same sequence as first is organization, second is team, and third is self. What happens in a regimented environment? This box continues to be in the same order. Organization, team, and self. At the base level, you have organizational interest. Come what may, this structure will not change. Come what may, the organizational interest will not change. That has to be paramount. In the flexible environment, what happens? Your base of organizational interest continues to be anchored the way it has been anchored earlier. What changes is that your stacking of organization, team, and self can keep going up and down. And that defines freedom of having an option to choose, right? And everybody in the organization needs to look at, while framing policies and the guidelines, and also while using the organization as a place to work or delivery, ensure that you may choose to work for which all days in a week for 3 days. But you may not be able to choose that I'll not work during this week at all. So the flexibility to choose is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But flexibility is not to choose that I'll work only 2 weeks and then take 2 weeks off, sort of a thing. So that's the flexibility defined in the organizational interest, and everybody needs to understand this. Organization we all survive for, we need to not have flexibility at the cost of organizational interest, and that comes paramount. Second is, if you look at, whether it is positive or negative, it is positive. Flexibility is positive as long as it helps to achieve the objective of the organization. Now, another point is that flexibility comes with huge sense of responsibility. And are we as workforce team members ready to take that responsibility? For example, way back when I started in Pepsi, we used to have people going to the routes to do selling, right? People used to go and sell. Fair enough. At the end of the day, you need to really cover 13 or 14 outlets. That's what is given to you as a flexibility, right? What time you started and what time you ended is something what you have figured out the way you want to really work. Later on, when we started using handhelds, then we defined that, I think this is the time in and there's a time out. And we need to really be doing so many lines, so much of sales in one particular route in every visit. So what happened when the flexibility was not working for the interest of the organization, there had to be a regimented process brought in. And then there was a way of really bringing back to the forefront organizational interest in terms of sales. Another example of flexibility is instead of policies having guidelines. When you have guidelines to operate, you should be happy with this. If I say that please come to office between 8:30 to 10:30, go back from between 5 to 7. Between this, you can have a flexibility of choosing. But if you say that, boss, I will not come, I'll every day come at 11 o'clock and go back at 3 o'clock, and then you are misusing the system. You are not doing what is expected to be done out of you, right? So flexibility is a two-way traffic. From the organization side, from the manager side, and from the team member side. And there's 80% of the people in the organization who needs to follow that in a very, very regimented and a structured way. Then it really works. Nobody can really debate that it should be there or not. In going forward, what great thing is happening is, Prashant, we are looking at naysayers converting to the flexibility model. As I was telling you in my initial point, that we have seen many things getting tested during this time. Pressure testing of various processes have happened. 2 months before the pandemic, I knew there's a leader in our organization. He used to be absolutely against work from home. He cannot really work in my type of a team, sort of a thing. And after a couple of months, the moment this hit, I think he was the person who was coming and saying, wow, man, I think there's no issue of productivity. People are working and things are working. So I think it has changed mindset. It has changed people look at approach. Now the responsibility is everybody to need to practice flexible options with a huge sense of responsibility if this needs to continue going forward. Otherwise, as India, as a culture, as a human beings, our ability to forget things is very fast. 18 months, 24 months down the line, if everything goes hunky-dory, you will start seeing people going back to office and working in the same way the way they used to work earlier. So that's what my point is. And you talked about patience. I'm saying patience is connected to the mindset. While managers, organizations will have to have patience, employees will also have to have, or team members will also have to have huge amount of patience in terms of delivery and work. Gestation period of some of the things will have to be far, far higher than what it would be. Flexibility, and last point to this is flexibility is also being self-accountable. I audit my process, right? I as an organization tell you, Prashant, you are responsible for these 5 things. Please go ahead and deliver it to me next 1 quarter. Now don't come back and tell me that how are you going to really do it. I'm not going to review it. You be responsible to come back and tell me, Yuvraj, this is what has been done and finally it has been achieved. So I think that is flexibility. Flexibility is not that you are completely living in your own world, distant and detached with the realities of the organization.
Fantastic. I think there we sort of touched upon the dual accountability, dual patience aspect, and I think there and that gives you and I can see some questions, and one very key question that's come across is someone who's dealt with this problem very recently. I think so. Seeing a question which is how do we deal with someone who misuses the flexibility? So I'm guessing someone has. I think Purnima has asked this question: how to treat employees who misuse flexibility. I'm going to try to come back to this question.
I'll just answer this in quick 2 sentences.
Yes, please.
I think that flexibility needs to have guidelines, and flexibility also has to have strong consequent management with exception. It's not that you create policy for everyone. You create guidelines for the defiants and people who deviate, and that's how you set example for everything. So in case there's a issue of people not following it, perhaps instead of really creating a regimented process, you should really take take the process of consequence management very, very firmly.
Great. I think I hope that answers your question, Purnima. And I'll quickly sort of slide into my next poll. And post that, we'll also try to take a few audience questions if there are any. So please do send your questions in the Q&A box. This is the next poll. And this is in relation to, a general understanding of what you've experienced. How have the employees at your organization reacted to the work from home processes? Are they motivated and productive, like a lot of us were initially? Are they missing the workplace? Or is there a feeling of uncertainty with regards to, is this permanent, is this not, and things like that? Please feel free to pick up, one of the options. Let's see what you all have sort of, selected. Simple enough question. Let's see. Can we have the results? Yeah, so I mean, mix. So 40% have actually responded well, is your point, right? So people are actually enjoying the aspect of being able to work from home. They're motivated, they're productive. 28% are missing the workplace, and 31%. So it's a mixed crowd again on on these aspects. And I do have a few questions lined up, but I'm going to sort of miss one of them, and I'm going to come to Smriti next. And Smriti, my question is actually yes, you will get a recorded version of today. Don't worry, that will also be there. Yes. So my question to you is that it's actually around the talent pool that will now be targeted, right? With the changing environment, and of course, you've already spoken about it briefly from an employer branding point of view. But for the talent pool, how do you expect them to react to these changing environments? Is it something that you believe customization will be key there? And how much customization would you actually recommend? Just if you could spend 30 seconds to 1 minute on it, would be great.
Okay, so I will answer within the time limit. Prashant, I think when you think about employees, my approach to them personally would be very similar to when I think about my customers. If I know how to segment my customer, right, when I need to reach out to them, and whether I call them, let's say, SSC A plus B, A, whatever, how you segment them, either basis demographics or basis their choices. Is somebody a convenience seeker or somebody a bargain hunter? You could have various ways in which you look at your customer, and then you decide to reach out to them accordingly. I would say when I think of my employees, when I think of what can I do about personalization or customization, to me, all of us as organizations need to understand employee persona, right? In the talent acquisition space, I'm thinking of candidate persona, but in a business partnering space, I would say employee persona. If you understand that sales and finance are technically very different as functions, and Yuvraj spoke about talking about accountability, and there are a lot of comments on the site that I see about accountability. If there's clarity, what kind of persona can be offered, what kind of customization, and if there's transparency between the organization and that employee persona, I think it all technically in the long run should work well. Of course, short term, there are going to be heartburns, because I also see that if you give flexibility to non-call center, but you give flexibility, if you give to a certain section and not to another section of employees, there's heartburn. Of course, there's going to be. But as long as an organization, we are transparent about it, because we are output driven, that if a particular job enjoys too much of flexibility, it could actually diminish outcomes. I think people will have the maturity to understand that.
Great. I think that sort of covers an important aspect, and key is customization and that profile, like how much is possible. Remove the ambiguity, go try to build a process, and actually, I mean, they're not set in stone. Eventually, you can continue to improve them after 3 months or 6 months or so, right? Okay. Yuvraj, I have an interesting question coming in, and I'm going to pose it to you because you spoke of culture initially, right? The importance of culture, how the values have stood the test of time. Sadia Khanam asks, for smaller companies, who've sort of been hiring a lot of their major chunk of their workforce during the lockdown, how do you communicate the company's culture virtually? And I think this is key, because whether it's communicating the culture to newcomers or it's about folks who are already there, how do you amplify it? So if you could again spend 30 seconds to 1 minute on this, it'll be great.
Okay, great. I think it's a great question, and I don't know whether I have an answer to this or not, because it seems to be a real-time situation, and we all are struggling with this area wherein I know that some people have joined online and they have also left before we have gone to office after spending 8-9 months in the organization system. Where did we lag is something what everybody needs to really figure out. So it's an interesting question, but let me take a stab. The question is that, how do you really communicate culture of the organization while you are still working online and you're not in position to meet employees? If I need to look at Sadia, how do you communicate culture of the organization? Not necessarily everybody who works in conglomerates like Microsoft or Google would have met the top leaders, whether it's Sundar Pichai or Satya Nadella. Culture is more disseminated with the help of actions, what you do, and the way you treat people. And now we have started already treating people differently while we are doing online. And that is something what you need to look at more closely. It's not necessary while meeting in the office and spending time together is the best way to really communicate about the culture. But I don't think one can really have a huge amount of challenge. I say that, how you are giving, what sort of an experience you are giving to people when they're getting onboarded online, what sort of an experience you are giving to people before they are coming on board, what sort of an immersion program, what sort of an induction program you are doing to people, and how are you taking care of people even while being online. Telephone calls are still available, Zoom calls are still available, you can still reach out to people. So it's not necessary that you need to get people in the office premises only to communicate about the culture. You have your various internal sessions happening, leaders must be talking to people, how organization is behaving, working. I think all this can really go and form impression about the culture of the organization in the minds of people. And will it be as effective as meeting in office? Perhaps no, because it lacks a bit of touch. And that's where I say, if you have a possibility of creating a small touch point which is physical, please do so, keeping in mind all the safety protocols, keeping in mind all the opportunities and issues which are to do with the safety and the vaccination and non-infection levels and all. And most of the organizations have been doing it, 5 people, 4 people, 3 people meeting together, doing some huddles, even meeting in the evening, post evening, having half an hour session on a Zoom to generally just let your hair down and talk to people informally. I think all this can really go a long way in terms of communicating out the culture. Ensure 2 things. One, have very frequent leaders speak. We do every 2 months or 3 months, we do a complete rollout of the next quarter's plan, and wherein we ensure that Deep, Rajesh, myself, Vipul, all the senior guys are talking to individuals and telling them what we are going to do. So ensure that communication keeps very, very strong, keep a close touch with employees and show your values in action. I think that people will still get a fair understanding of the culture and values of the organization. It may not replace live scenarios, but still it can do a lot of justice. That's how I look at it.
Right. I think that sort of covers a lot of aspects, and it also talks about the importance of having a little bit of informal, gathering as well, because that creates that little bit of trust as well. So I think great. Since we're at 4:49 and we've got about 5 to 10 minutes to go, a lot of questions are about best practices, and we had all originally also thought that towards the end we'll talk about some best practices. So I'm going to come to Smriti first, and Smriti, if you could sort of talk to us about, and I mean, there's a question about the work from home flexibility aspect at your current organization, and things about it's very challenging due to job shopping. They take multiple offers, start bargaining. How do you tackle it? So I mean, a lot of these questions with regards to your current company, your role as talent acquisition leader are coming across. Can you share some, or at least one best practice that you think has worked very well from a culture point of view, hiring point of view, any of that, through a flexible model point of view?
Prashant, as I think of it, there are certain things that you need to ensure you succeed as an organization. What I heard very early part of going virtual was, because of going virtual, there are 3 things that have gone missing. One is collaboration. The other is connect, because the corridor conversations, I spoke about serendipity on the side, and creativity. Because you would just get into a room, you have an idea, you'd use your whiteboard and start working around it, or that entire bit took a miss for the first 3 to 6 months. And then, of course, organizations realize that you need to have virtual tools to ensure none of this, is missed in your day-to-day, because you cannot afford to not be innovative, or you cannot afford to be not connected, etc. I think one thing I will say, very small thing, but because I spoke about serendipity on the side, and somebody asked me that, how do you build serendipity? I think what we have done globally, and maybe it's true for all organizations, maybe it's an Outlook feature that has changed, but what we've done globally is, we used to have a 1 hour meeting, right? 4 to 5, 5 to 5:30. It used to be in multiples of 30s, right? What we've done is we've gone to multiples of 25. So instead of having a meeting from 4 to 4:30, automatically my calendar will now set up meetings for 25 minutes or 50 minutes, which leaves me those 10 minutes for so-called serendipity. So what happens after a meeting? When I run from one meeting to another, from one meeting room to another, when I'm physically present, it leads to stopping by in the corridor, doing hey, haha, what's up, and how's life and what's happening. That entire bit had gone away. Now, with this additional 5 or 10 minutes that each of us get, at least I try my best. At the end of the meeting, I'll say, Sakshi or whosoever, Richa, could you just stay back for 5 minutes? And we'll generally catch up as if we were in the corridor. At least I've used those 5 minutes to ensure I'm able to do that. I loved it when organization came up with it. In the beginning, it was difficult because everybody would use the entire 60 minutes irrespective of the calendar being booked for 50, but slowly it changed and evolved.
Yes, I mean, that's such a wonderful suggestion, because, we talk about budgets, technology, everything. That's such a simple step. And each of you in the questions that, in the question box right now, all of you can implement it, because that it gives that 5 to 10 minutes from a water cooler perspective point of view. I think that's what a lot of people call it, like a water cooler conversation. Yuvraj, I'm going to come to you. Best practice, and try to be as loud as you can for this one best practice, because I'm sure everyone's absolutely hearing and ready to sort of get a response from you, because I think your organization has gone through such massive the pandemic and everything that has happened. I'm sure it would have been stressful time. One thing that you believe has worked for you from a culture point of view or any other aspect point?
So I think firstly, I think that Smriti, what she shared was great. I think that I'm going to really talk about this in the organization and see that if we can really implement something on the similar lines. Thanks, Smriti, for that. So what we have been doing, Prashant, and I hope I'm loud and clear, is that what we realized that during this time of stress and uncertainty, biggest thing what people had been worried about is to know about how the organization is doing, right? And that really connects or answers many of their questions. That how secure are we as a travel and travel company? How are we secured in terms of hospitality and travel organization, which has seen the biggest hit in terms of the business? How are we placed in terms of our business recovery? We realize that it all boiled down to knowing brass tacks, that how organization is performing. Please keep me informed, so I'm sure that am I working in the safe workplace or not, right? And what we have been doing huge amount of business update sessions with everyone, because when people are in the organization, they know many things happening. Hotel LFB is doing this, Flightsmith, this is what is happening, product features are getting rolled out. Many things you come to know by talking to your friends. What has been happening here is we have been doing a lot of business update sessions. Every month we'll be doing business update sessions of an half an hour, 40 minutes, telling people that how the business recovery is happening. And we get everybody in the line, CEO's address, CXO's address. That is one thing what we have been doing. Second, what we have been doing is we have been doing a lot of positive bites communication internally. And that's a sort of a newsletter or a communication which goes out twice in a week, simple stuff, which only talks about positive things. It can be as simple as vaccination numbers going up in the organization and how things have been looking up, to talking to how the numbers have gone down, how many people internally in the organization have come out of recovery phase and all that stuff, how we have done on the CSR front. So we have been talking about positive things to people rather than really harassing people with, depressing news sort of a thing. So I think that has been, again, Another thing what has really been appreciated. And third thing is that I realized that HR folks play a huge role in the organization in terms of helping people keep sanity during this time, right? And willy-nilly, the way you go to a hospital, everybody looks like a doctor to you, right? You feel that whether this fellow is a compounder and nursing assistant is a doctor. So everybody comes to HR thinking that HR has an answer to every question. So what we have been doing is that we spend a lot of time within HR to train HR business partners and HR folks to handle issues of stress, mental health, concerns or depressions, do the right conversations with people. They're not trained, but at the same time, they should not completely be sounding untrained when they are talking to their span sort of a thing. So I think that we have been doing some sessions and trying to help HR guys develop that capability to handle such conversations over phone or Zoom. So these are 2 or 3 things what we have been doing, and I think
I think from what you shared, again, very, very applicable. Things involve leadership, talk about positivity, do bites, employee advocacy, things like that. All of these things are very doable, guys. So, I mean, these best practices, that's why we keep best practices, towards the end of the webinar, because we believe that you'll sort of go home with more value than you actually joined the webinar with. And with that, I'll sort of close the loop on this. And, I appreciate the wonderful conversations we've had. I mean, I think the fact that there's so many questions, so many comments in the chat is a testament to the panelists and how wonderfully they've sort of captured the topic. Thank you so much, Yuvraj. Thank you so much, Smriti. It's been an absolute pleasure to sort of launch this new initiative with you. And of course, everyone that's sort of bouncing out of the webinar, please do fill the feedback form. As soon as you give us the feedback, we'll come back bigger, better, and stronger. But just want to give a big thanks to both the panelists, and hope to stay in touch. Hope to have you as a part of the All Things Talent community. The community is a function of HR leaders, like you. So thank you so much for joining us here and doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. Best of luck as you move forward.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, Raj.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.